Okay, everyone participated, and this is something that's hard for us to understand today, at least previously, because you could not wake up in the morning without the first thing on your mind being, we're at war. That was everybody. That was the driving force in everyone's mind the whole 4 years the United States was in the war. So it might be comparable to the coronavirus today. We haven't been hit very hard yet in Oklahoma, but we're going to be. It's going to increase over the next 2 weeks because we haven't been very good at protecting ourselves. So it's going to be a lot of contagion here in Oklahoma. And we may get to the point, I don't know about you guys, you're all young, I'm old. So when I wake up in the morning, one of the first things I think of is, oh yeah, the virus. I got to stay home again. I've been home now since the last time I saw you guys. So it's uh, it's an all-consuming event. That's what World War II was. So everybody's going to participate in some way. You're going to ration goods, participate in rationing, which was the law. You're going to engage in scrap drives. What do we call it today, where we collect stuff and send it off to someone that's going to process it into something else? Recycling, right? So that they did recycling before that word was even around. Scrap drives, victory gardens. I've heard a lot of people today, because of the pandemic, are starting to want to grow their own vegetables because it's just so inconvenient to get to the grocery store right now. I mean, I order groceries from Walmart right now, and they come and deliver it right to my driveway, put it in my little cart, and then I can move them into the house. But it's hard to do that with fresh. I like to pick out my own fresh, and you can't do that if you're not in the store. So victory gardens are becoming, or growing your own vegetables. They called them victory gardens during World War II. Make your own clothing. A lot of women did that already in World War II, but now it's kind of mandatory because there's not very many ready-made clothing being made. Conserve energy. Work longer hours. Gosh, you're working 12 hours a day. I don't know much longer you can work than that, but buy war bonds. That's how we're going to finance the war. One of the main ways. So it's that same thing I explained to World War I. We're loaning money to the government. They give us a bond in return. When the bond matures, we take it to the bank and then we get whatever the face value of the bond is. Like if you buy a $50 bond today, you keep it for 10 years, you trade it in, you get $100. So you're loaning that money to the government in the meantime. Learn first aid. Why do you suppose they're encouraging people to learn first aid? Today, people really, I mean, first aid is almost universal knowledge today because we've done such a good job in training people in schools and on television and things like that. But why would they have needed it then? Well, because the doctors have been drafted and the nurses have enlisted. So they didn't have big hospitals back then like we have. Oh, sorry, hold on. Okay, as I was saying, sorry, I have these big dogs with big barks and I can't ever, keep them completely quiet, so sorry. Hospital. We didn't have big hospitals back in the 40s. Usually the hospitals were owned by the doctor, and there might have even just been his house. He lived in one part of the house and had the hospital in the other part of the house. So they're all gone now. So if your little boy falls out of the apple tree, you better learn how to set that arm, Mom, because there's nobody else to do it. So lots and lots of emphasis on take care of yourself. Don't rely on running to the doctor. So I don't know if we'd survive that today or not. And join civil defense. Civil defense were citizens who watched for, most strategically around the edge of the country, around the borders, like on the west coast and east coast and along the Canadian border. Citizens that would go out at night and watch the sky with binoculars so they were the first line of defense against invasion because really literally all of our troops were fighting overseas, so citizens had to step up a bit. Rationing. Rationing is the purpose of rationing, this may make people a little bit uncomfortable or angry, it didn't seem like it's fair, but the point of rationing is so it is fair. Because I don't know if you've noticed it today, but as soon as they started giving the symptoms on the news of what the coronavirus how it made you feel. You know, things like masks and Clorox wipes and toilet paper. You know, it just they disappeared off the shelves. And now there's been documented cases where people have been selling those things at ridiculously high prices, 10 times what they'd sell for in the store. So that's human nature, especially in capitalism where everybody is constantly focused on getting more money. So rationing avoided that. It didn't avoid it completely, but it was the best attempt they could come up with. So, for instance, you got coupons for rationing. So, for instance, you got a coupon book for sugar for 6 months, and there was a ticket in there for every week of those 6 months. When you're going to buy sugar, you'd take your ration book to the grocery store, and you'd pay your ticket and the price of the sugar, and you could buy sugar. Once you spent that ticket for that week, you could not buy any more sugar that week. Or it might have been a month. You know, it might have been a coupon per month. Once you spent the coupon, you could not buy any more of whatever that was until the next ration coupon became effective. You can see that there's going to be a black market for this because, excuse me, people are going to want more than they can have. But if you got caught, or if the grocer got caught selling it to you without a coupon, both of you could go to jail. So it's a serious business. I mean, most people wanted to do whatever they could to help in the war effort. It was a point of pride. They really felt like that they were contributing to the war effort, and they were. So look at the things that are rationed: sugar, wool, wheat, meat, butter, eggs, cheese, heating oil, tires, gasoline, and coffee. Do you have to have coffee to fight a war? I don't know, but that looks like this poster over here looks like that's what they're saying. Do with less, so they'll have enough. The guy's got a coffee cup in his hand. The reason coffee was rationed was because the ships that normally brought coffee beans from Colombia, sorry, I don't have coronavirus, I have allergies. The ships that brought the coffee beans from Colombia had all been commandeered into the United States Navy after Pearl Harbor, so we couldn't get any coffee beans to the United States, so except in small amounts. So they started to ration coffee so Americans could all have some. That's the point of rationing. You can have some, but you can't have as much as you want. You only get X amount. If you want Y amount, then that's too bad. You have to wait until the next ration coupon is active, and then you can go buy more. But it guarantees that everybody will get some. All right, it makes it, in that regard, is fair. Everybody will get some. I don't know if we do very well with rationing. I mean, in World War II, these people were motivated to participate because they wanted to help the United States win the war. We've never had any situation like that before in my lifetime. I was born in 1950, so well after World War II. So if you feel that concerned, worried, desperate for your country to continue to exist, you would be willing, probably, to sacrifice for it. All right, these are some of the posters that they used to motivate people during World War II. This lady on the left says, "Of course I can. I'm patriotic as can be, and ration points won't worry me." In other words, I don't have to worry about a ration coupon because I've got my own food here what does she do? She cans, right? I don't know why they call it canning when it's actually a bottle, but a jar, a glass jar. But that's what she does. She's growing her own food and canning her own food at home so she doesn't have to worry about any being available when she wants it with ration coupons. Second poster there is encouraging people to grow a victory garden to take some of the pressure off the food supply. The third one is the one I like the best. Make sure they're sunk. Bring in your junk. As there's Tito and Hitler there, and a little rowboat and a little torpedo coming towards them. The torpedo says, "The junk on your farm." I mean, if you ever take a drive out in the country, you'll see every farm has got old tractors, old plows, old discs and harrows and all kinds of tractor stuff out there that's made of steel that needs to be recycled. And that's what this is for. Scrap drives included aluminum, steel, rubber, paper, rags, and they were all used in the war industry. Changed lifestyles. This wasn't that big of a crimp in their lifestyle like it would be today. A 35-mile-an-hour national speed limit during World War II, called Victory Speed. Of course, those cars didn't go very fast back then. They would get that you could get a 1940s car up to 60 miles an hour, but you don't run your car at top speed all the time. It won't last very long if you did, and you wouldn't last very long because you die. So this is, moderate speed, but 35 would be top speed during World War II. You can't just get in your car and go for this is really popular when automobiles came out in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 30s not so much, but 40s and later the 50s. Sunday afternoon drives were just the big thing. My family did it every Sunday in the 50s. We'd pile in the car, well, it was just me and my dad and mom. We'd get in the car and we would just drive. We might drive for 2 hours, and we'd stop at every little, roadside ice cream stand or whatever, museum and things like that, just make a Sunday afternoon in the country. It was great. Well, no, you can't do that during World War II. And this is a picture underneath here. The one on the left is Tinker Air Force Base from the air. Now, those big angular lines are the runways, okay? Let's see, where the double line there at the near towards the bottom of the picture, you see a long building there towards the bottom of that picture that's right next to the runways. That's the 3001 building, which is still there today. It's the largest manufacturing structure on Tinker, and it's been enlarged since World War II. Then up here in the upper right, you see that's kind of a, I don't know what you call that design, but it's a pattern of lines. And that's Midwest City. That is, those little lines are streets in the old part of town. Today, that's where the shopping center is, right along 29th Street. These little houses over here on the right are some of the early day houses built. Midwest City was started in 1942, the same time Tinker was started. Mr. Atkinson started building Midwest City to meet the needs of the people that were going to be working at Tinker, because this was out in the middle of nowhere. There was no town out here where Midwest City is. There was one gas station where the Santa Fe Cattle Company is now, and that was the gas station between Oklahoma City and Shawnee on Old Highway 3. So we're starting from scratch out here for both of these giant construction projects. And you can see those houses with the little stick trees that are now giant elm trees. My mother and daddy moved here in 1949, and Mother looked at Midwest City, the old part over there, and she said it was the cutest little town she'd ever seen in her life. So, I mean, it's still really cute in a lot of those streets over there where it's been well taken care of.